Conference will now be recorded.
I'm giving you all a look.
Okay, we'll call this January 12th, 2026 work session to order. 6:01 p.m. 30 a.m. would it?
Well, you never know.
They got it right. Do we have an approval of the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda as with the correction that it is Dale Webb, President Dale Webb, not Mayor Rick Hart. Got it.
I guess we're second it, right?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, our discussion is our project list prioritization. There, I got it out.
Okay, so remember the last meeting, I talked about how the current list was all jumbled up. It mixed projects with things we'd need to do if we got future funding, with things that are ongoing as city ongoing elements. So I'm proposing that we split the list like this so that we actually have projects staff is working on that have like a beginning, middle, and end. And then I moved the ongoing things to an ongoing city project. So that's things like the lake leak resolution, the I&I master plan, crack sealing, city equipment's maintenance logs, stormwater master plan, and the sidewalk master plan. And then I moved the things that would be required or needing funding to their own category, which would be, should we get funds, then we would do those. I'm fine. I think the city ongoing projects probably don't need to be categorized or ranked by you guys because they're happening at certain times of the year, different things like that. I don't care if you want to rank them in their own category 1 through 6, that's fine too. But I think the projects and the funding ones, the ones needing funding, probably would be important for me to know what's top of your list for things we need to go out for funding. So I know kind of to be paying attention to grant specific. So it's all the same items that were on the other list, the last list. I just broke it out into things that have a beginning, middle, and end, what is ongoing for staff, and then funding projects. And then removing the wage analysis, step charts, drug testing, because the drug testing thing, our insurance already said, unless we're willing to do a whole drug testing program and adopt a whole thing, insurance is not going to be okay with us randomly drug testing people without a whole protocol.
Yeah.
And nobody was really interested in the whole protocol. We haven't had an incident where someone had an accident and we suspected them of using drugs. So it would be a lot of work for something we don't currently suspect anybody coming into work under the influence of drugs.
So what would you do to replace that? I mean, if you did have something like that was to come up, how would you?
Well, if we suspect it, we can request that they go in because of an accident or injury. We can easily just request that they get drug tested at that point.
Isn't it actually part of the process anyway if they're in an accident?
Yes, yeah. So if they're in an accident on city equipment or something, but this would be like, if we suspected someone's not having accidents and coming regularly, you would have to have a protocol to do the random.
Right.
And council didn't really have a stomach for it in the past. And this has been on the list, in the bigger list for like 4 years now, and we've never done anything with it. So I'm like, can we just take it off of there until you guys decide? But if you guys are okay with kind of breaking it out this way, these would all still come to you quarterly with any updated notes. But it just kind of cleans it up for staff to know these are things that have kind of start, middle, end. These are things that we need to bring to you and update you on as they happen. And then if you want to rank or add, you can always add any funding projects, then that kind of helps us understand what's most important to you. I know that in the sheets you got, the mayor sent an email And his two were beginning the process we discussed last year for the police chief selection and the Vernonia Lake campground project this spring. So he would put in the funding category, he would put the lake campground project as his number one of that
Yeah.
section. So I did want to also, we can put that as a process number one for his. It's already on the list, so I don't think we have to add it. But as far as it comes to the police chief selection, I wanted to discuss with you guys a few things, and I told the mayor this at the time, even though he still has it on there. So currently, in the old days, before, when we first started having a city administrator, the city administrator was your guys' only contract employee. Everyone else is underneath them as far as, and they're at-will employees that follow the CBA and the handbook. Those are what manage them, right? So for discipline, for benefits, all of that is the budget, the CBA and the handbook. When we had the issues with Officer K back in the late 90s, early 2000s, the current chief at the time, who was an at-will employee, went to the city administrator and was nervous and wanted to step back into the union, because typically police chiefs are not in the union, and requested his own contract. The city administrator at the time gave him his own contract. That is the only reason we ever had a police chief with his own contract. So moving forward, I queried my other cities and said, can I get a copy of your police chief contract? Well, two of them don't have it. They're an at-will employee. And the other two contract with the sheriff's department for services. So I need direction from you guys on whether or not you really want to have a chief with a separate contract, which makes them different than the CBA and different than the handbook, or you want us to have a police chief position that falls under the CBA and the handbook as an at-will employee. Because it's not really if they have a contract, it's between you guys as the elected, right? And that person, not me. I could sign on your behalf, but it's not going to be me. Like, it's inappropriate for me to develop the contract, because right now I'm Sean's boss. If Sean and I are going to be like this, it's really you guys that need to be kind of doing the evaluation, right? Like, it's weird. It's just a weird sitch. So I had told that to the mayor. And I laid that out and said, well, I need council to decide. I can get all the stuff ready for you. If you're going the way of the contract, I can tell you what Sean has requested be in it. I can show you the old one. I can show you the one you drafted and get you all that. But it's weird for me to be in the mix of it, because none of my other employees have a contract.
So you say Sean has requested it already?
Well, I think it was kind of a belief that Sean, so this is how it got weird. Sean then had a contract that Mike Connor did for him. It's like contracts where there shouldn't be contracts, or there should be contracts and you guys should be the overseeing body. I'm trying to figure out where you want to go with it. I'll help you get there. I just don't know what you're wanting. Most of the things that were requested, I printed. So this was the draft one you guys in 2023 had gone through and kind of, if you were going to do a contract, this was the one. And it's pretty similar, it just has their duties, their hours of work. Their termination is without cause or for cause. That's different than exactly how all the other employees are, because theirs is more progressive discipline, or outright, you do one of these things and we just have to fire you on the spot. And then benefits are a little bit different, but they're the same as the police officers get in the union contract. So that's like health, life, and disability insurance. There's some things the police have that the rest of us employees don't have because of their job. Professional growth, a vehicle. So there's just some different things in here than like I don't have a vehicle, right? So it's a different type of contract. And then this was the one that was amended by him of the old chief contract. And most of it's,
That's the one
good.
Sean amended.
Yeah, that was chiefs. And some of it's in here already, paid holidays, blah, blah, blah. There was some stuff that was concerning to us. Let me find it. And it had to do with staffing. Let me see. It had to do with like a minimum staffing level. And which is kind of the weird part. Let me find it. He had requested. Okay, so this is the other thing. Being a supervisor, I'm an exempt employee. I don't get paid overtime,
Right.
right? So
And that was a huge concern.
that's a huge concern to the budget because currently Sean's getting paid overtime. And so as a supervisor, usually you're exempt. Currently, he's not exempt. So if he went into the police chief's position, maybe there would be a bump in pay, but there would be no overtime. It'd be comp time where we have to kind of, if we work over hours, we take hours off at other times and kind of keep a tally on our time sheets. And that's how we make it fair for us and the city. But yeah, so I kind of just need to know what you guys are feeling, which way you would. In the old one, it said if they fire them without cause, they could step back into the union. Well, what's the point of that? If you're firing some without cause, you don't want them back in your department, you want them gone. So it's a weird sitch that happened before me, and I'm just trying to figure out what the current council wants it to be, whether we go for like a police chief job description and expectations within like the other employees have, and then the rate sheet of what their salary would be or what. So that's something to think about. I know Rick wants it on the priority sheet. I think it's because it's employment and personnel. It's not really a project of the city. It's good for us to bring it up, maybe have a future work session. I could send you all these documents. Everybody could peruse what's happened thus far, and then we come back and discuss it. I don't really know that it has a spot on the quarterly priority list,
I
but
mean, council could direct that at any time.
yeah. So that I could send you guys all of these documents. But like John Walsh, their chief is an at-will employee and does not have an employment contract. So in the old days, only the city administrator did, and you could hire and fire me with or without cause and all the things that my contract says. But when the K stuff happened, the stepping back into the union and all of that stuff started happening. And Bill, I believe, was asked to do a contract. He did one. And then Mike did one for Sean. So it's just like kind of a mess that I received, and I'm not exactly sure what the best way to handle it is. I think Sean does a great job, and I don't want him to be like financially harmed. He will not make as much money because overtime is just more than his salary plus his overtime is going to be more than we can afford for the chief spot. But I've already told him that.
And he's good with that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's a known quantity, it's employment. And, if the council determines this is the set amount for chief and he wants it, he'll go for it. If he doesn't want it, he won't go for it. I don't know what to say past that.
Yeah. And then the question is, if he chooses not to, does that mean we then have to go hire a chief? I know I've talked to him about it several times over the past couple of years since this came up. Like I said, more like 4 years. And he's always had that, he's weighed it and it's been a question.
Mhm.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have the title, but is that really in the best interest of the city? And if he is blocked into only being chief, and yes, he could get comp time and such, but is that really in the best interest of the city? So my question, I have a question.
Yeah.
Can he be chief and still have you as a supervisor?
Yeah, that like John Walsh, an at-will employee is under the direction of this council's one employee.
Right.
Yeah. Thus under council.
Yeah.
Right. So
And
it's just like a weird stitch because I don't know what to do with it. Rick kept saying, bring us the contract. Well, if I bring you I shouldn't be in the mix if you guys are going to contract with a person for their employment.
Right.
In the same way, because I don't contract with anybody. I just have employees that I hold to the handbook or the CBA. Does that make sense?
so is there a problem with us not having a chief?
Not exactly. I mean, there's not a problem. There's weird things because in that moment, if we had to do something, I have to stand as that, like indecision or something.
Right.
Which we haven't had a problem with that yet because I'm always taking the advice of the actual law enforcement. Yeah, I think he would like to have that title. I don't know. I think it depends on which way council goes, whether he sees it as a benefit for him or not. Does that make sense? Because without a contract, I think the contract for Mike, well, we all know it had a huge balloon payment that we paid when that service separated. So those things would not be the same most likely because the city just doesn't have the funds for that. So those might not make it as enticing. I don't know. I'm not him.
I am uncomfortable with us being the boss supervisor for the chief of police. That is leadership by group rather than having one person being that person's supervisor. And I think particularly with a law enforcement, I just don't think that is wise. That's my opinion on that.
Wise for council to oversee that? Is that what you're
Correct.
saying?
Yeah,
They could get 5. It's the reason like John Walsh is the police chief's boss in St. Helens, because then there's not 5 bosses. Like it's a little different with me having 5 bosses because everyone has their pet rock and my job's more this, right? Well, law enforcement's job is just this. And so if you had 5 different people's opinions about how you should have handled something, that could get kind of messy. And that's, I think, why the other cities just have them either as an at-will employee or they've contracted with the sheriff's department. So, because Clatskanie hasn't had a police chief since 2002. They went from having one with a contract and then they went as an at-will employee up until they got taken over by the sheriff's department. So nobody in Columbia County's really had what we had for quite a long time. So I'm trying to
Interesting.
figure it out. So that's just one thing. I don't know that we have to discuss a lot. I can send you guys info and.
right. And then I guess my question is just on that, not to beat a dead horse, but should we, I think it would behoove all of us to hear directly from Sean and you at the same time about the pros and cons and how he truly feels about it. I think so that we all hear his comments and concerns at the same time, rather than he's talked to me, he's talked to you, and, I'm sure.
Or maybe you guys have a work session and then at some point invite him in to ask some.
That would be,
things. Yeah.
that would be.
And it wasn't that we have been pushing it off. He had an issue going on with the sheriff's office that had to get adjudicated and get through the thing. The sheriff's office he had been moonlighting with the jail that was approved by the city for him to be a jail steward as on his off time. An issue happened there where the sheriff was mad when we canceled the contract to have the shared service, and they went after Sean with this problem. And that had to go through all the steps in the courts, and it was unfounded. And so then we had not talked about the chief thing during that whole time in order for that to take place and get squashed or dealt with or whatever it was going to be. And it got kind of thrown out because they didn't find anything that they thought was,
So it's,
so now this conversation's kind of free to be up again. And I think that's what Rick's kind of pressing is like, hey, what are we doing?
sure.
But yeah, so we can I'll get the documents in order of what we've done so far, kind of the drafts, send them to you guys. And then maybe at the next council meeting, you could schedule a work session to just talk. So the tricky thing is when you have Sean there, I'll have to talk to Ruben because if he is going to be an employee, there might be a reason for you to go in executive session to discuss all that.
Yeah.
And not a public meeting, but I'll talk with Ruben about what's allowed and what could be talked about in both forums and get more clear stuff. Because you don't want to be poking someone and it's recorded for the public.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily go well, and sometimes it's not appropriate. So,
Yeah.
Okay. But so I don't think we put it on here, but I'll put it on my action item list. I'm going to send the documents to council, confer with Ruben about what needs to happen in which session and get that going. Okay.
So other than that, I think we need to, anybody's got projects that they want to add to the list? Councilor Weller?
I got one. Have you seen the railroad grade that the city's taken over down by Mark? Have you seen it's just a forever problem with the pothole thing.
Yeah, he was back there today,
Was he?
Jeffrey. Mhm.
I can tell you what, and this is just my opinion, I think the problem is that it's so flat. It's not crowned up. The water sits. You get all that traffic that's right, and it just keeps pounding them out.
Yeah.
It almost like it needs to be, almost like need to take my cat over there with the ripper, and almost like start over
Yeah.
and then kind of get it crowned up so that the water, I don't know, and it might need more rock, more.
Well, he keeps bringing rock, but it just sloughs off.
Well,
It gets-
it
it gets-
just keeps pounding because it's small rock. And so when the cars go over it, it just pounds
It just kicks it off.
just pushing,
Yeah.
pounding right back out.
So what I've seen with truck holes, as the cars go through, they push the water out. You've got to get rid of the chuck hole that's
Yeah.
holding the water,
Yeah.
or get it sealed up so it won't hold water, and then the chuck holes will kind of go away. I think there might be some ditching issue there to help lower the water table to help crown the road and get a crown in the road so it's tapered to shed the water would help.
So so it being that kind of project, it's not just in the streets budget. So is that something you guys want to add on as a project, like formulating what the long, so also we took the railroad grade. We have a preliminary design if it's a one-way and an exit, which I think will solve if it's got half as much really in and out going on it. Granted, the 7 or 8 houses that live on this side are going to go in and out on the one side. But most of those other people, if that other sections, if the railroad grade's made into a road, that's going to be much quicker and more likely the duplex and all of Springboard come out on the straight. Currently in the budget, we don't have money for like moving that project forward, but if that's something you want to do. Or in the short term, do you want to make a project where it's just isolating and dealing with that intersection? Because ultimately, whatever money we put towards that intersection potentially is going to it's going to be changed when we do a bigger thing. But is that what we're looking for, like a short-term fix on that, or I'm trying to understand better?
Which intersection are you talking?
The weird little jaunt.
Oh,
Yeah, Mark's house.
Okay, I didn't know if you're talking weird.
No, I'm saying that's a bigger project that currently there's no funds in it.
Yeah.
For that. You know, we'd need to earmark funds in the next fiscal year out of streets to like start working on that, or do a preliminary design of what the road base needs to be on the railroad grade, or how much of it is there and what we'd have to, you know what I mean? Or are we just looking for collectively a temporary fix to that intersection? Trying to figure out what the project looks like to you guys.
Right. And talking to Ben too, with the SCA, small cities allotment for, our gas tax money, basically, federal gas tax money. We're probably going to have probably a workshop and talk about, we got all these different projects. We're going to have to try to wrap our heads around exactly how we're going to fund these. Doing the 12 project shotgun sounds like that's kind of out of the realm. We really kind of need to confine ourselves to bigger projects, maybe 3 or 4.
Or if they're big enough, 2 or 3.
Right. And
To get funded, because
To get
they're not
funded.
liking the piecemeal.
they're counting them against us if we have too many. And so then we have to look at our internal funding that we accumulate every year. We've set $100,000 aside, hoping that we're going to get a federal grant, but we need to make a decision how long we're going to sit on that money. But we are still probably, we'll have money in surplus to that, I'm assuming this fiscal year. And so then we need to wrap our heads around the rest of the projects on that list that were a bunch of little ones, and how we're going to attack that, how far that money is going to go. And so we just did the street assessment, and Ben's going to be doing that project and bringing us back the maps and where we're sitting. And so we're going to have to kind of give staff some direction as to, okay, what monies go where.
Which
FCA is probably going to be bigger projects than what we've been doing. And we're going to have to kind of prioritize our internal money and decide. I don't know if have they had any discussion on funding?
No. And I have a lot of concern with just how kind of tumultuous Congress is to pass their budgets, and this game we're playing with the shutting down the government every other day, that we're holding this money, and ultimately, will it ever get appropriated? A one street in the middle of Boondock, Columbia County? Or is it smarter for us to propose like Jefferson and the section of Washington, and then there's like the broken down street and the half paved. And then in the next SCA, go for a block of state, go for another block of state. Because with they like the sidewalks, they like stormwater connectivity, and that could be addressed in that. Or we hold this 100,000 aside as match and keep going back to the feds and never see anything. So it's kind of like a weird, you guys need to tell us where we're going, but that's like a whole different work session.
Yeah.
But for the point of this, are we talking temporary most likely? Because
but the project down here falls within our yearly streets plans. I mean, I don't know how you make a separate.
You mean the keeping up of it and dealing with it? Yeah. I mean, he did put,
Maybe we need to, it's under our street improvement plan execution.
Yeah.
And we put the SCA there, but but that's not just SCA. There's other execution that's going on, and it's gonna be more split in the future.
Yeah.
Internal money, SCA money.
So we could add in there slash,
What we need to do.
remedy to
is put
weed
that in-
intersection
Yeah,
in the note.
yeah.
And then have Jeff and Robert maybe coming up with, do we get the big grader from the county and just take the whole thing out? Because one of the things that I think you have to get to the bottom of that pothole and tear that open because it's just so compact, it's keeping a bowl.
Yeah.
You gotta rip that open, get
Yep.
something to adhere the layers and then build it. And so we can just add it to the note slash, work on weed
Yeah.
intersection.
Well, and we work up like Ben does on the rest of them. We end up with the footage. We know what we need to do. Sometimes we got to grind, sometimes we just pave or we're chip sealing or whatever we're
Yeah.
doing. And we'll just get a kind of an estimate, but it goes into our plan and we
Yeah,
see each one of these listed projects. And then we got to kind of prioritize where we go with it.
yeah. So I'll get him to add that. Plan report. Okay,
And actually, that's, the pothole, it's a pretty relatively short section of the road.
mhm,
I mean, it's just basically in front of Mark's house.
yeah.
What?
But we get enough complaints from all of the users.
Yeah,
I mean, and Jeff said the ones that live in the duplex, they were going like 40. And he's like, he's out there trying to remedy it. He's
There's
like,
some fast drivers.
yeah, so.
I was like, well, what's the speed limit there? Well, it's probably 25. Probably be
25.
max.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
25,
That's another one for Sean to monitor.
right? Catch a few,
Where he's gonna sit.
yeah.
Sit in my driveway.
All right, other proposals to put on the list?
This is a minor one. I think it would behoove us to try to get a lifeguard at the pool. I know it's not a high priority, but I think the optics, for one thing, are important to at least let the city know we're looking at it. And then, start reaching out now for the training and such, because I think part of the problem is, I know I was lifeguard when I was a kid and we had more pools near us, but there are kids who like to do that. And it would just be, I think it would be helpful if we started reaching out now and not waiting till,
Well, it's not so much it's not so much only the people, it's the money. Parks has
Yes.
not had a lot of disposable income
okay,
in the past years, and regularly we were putting about, I want to say $5,000 to $7,000 in there for insurance and all the things.
okay.
I didn't bring my budget. I don't know what's in there, but if that's, that could be something that we put in, make sure that's in the budget
Mhm.
so that, earmark that if that's,
We'd have to use general fund money.
well, I don't know how, it'll depend on how the parks budget ends up coming into budget, how they're sitting.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was, we had really busting years with a lot of campers, the long-term workers. And then that shrunk down because of other places they can stay. So we haven't had that much disposable income coming in. We could, if that's what's important, we can shift things around and,
Or at least
yeah,
get a report on it from,
yeah.
Any idea what costs?
It's we put in the budget between 5,000 and 7,000 it's usually June, July, August, and the first week of September. And they're usually only a little bit above, well, they're above minimum wage. What's minimum wage right now? I don't have anyone
I think
making
it just changed again.
14.
and a quarter.
So they might be just a little bit above minimum wage per hours, but then there's the insurance
benefit.
the FICA, and you pull out all the things. So that we have to. But that's what Parks got upset about last year, was the money wasn't earmarked. And that's one of the things I was thinking about in the old days when I was mayor and when I was on committees. The committees would get the budget in like January, February meetings. And it was really important that the liaison go, and we left them a blank column and we said, hey, here's where you guys put your 2 cents in so council can really hear what you're wanting in this fund, right? So with Public Works, they were like, we want crack sealing, right? So we put crack sealing every year, so much money for that to happen. Or in the old days, the parks would say, we want cedar chips for all the playgrounds and we want,
Yeah.
whatever. And I think we need to get back to that because they get
agree.
disconnected from their agendas or in their budgets. I know Parks I had requested, so I know Parks had a tumultuous last few meetings, right? With I don't know that you were there.
I don't think I was there.
But with the peace tree and there was just some volatileness. And when I talked to the secretary, I said, okay, well, there's not money for we were talking about money. And I said, do you guys understand your budget? And he goes, not really, but it doesn't matter. It does matter if you're expecting stuff and I don't have any money to pay for the stuff you're expecting. So I'm like, I said, well, I could come and explain it. And he's like, no, he kind of pushed me off. And I didn't know if he pushed me off. I don't know why he pushed me off, but I didn't go. But that might be something that I come to the next meeting and we go over, here's what you brought in so far. Here's what it looks like for the year. Here's where you guys have, hey, we have a wish list and we'd like to have these things should the money support it. And then council can do that. So I think that's important because then when they're upset about something, it's the disconnect that they're upset about. They don't know that there isn't money and they're not reading the budget right. At one point, one of the parks members said that we were getting, every time someone stayed in Anderson Park, the state was giving us money. And someone called me about that and I'm like, that's not true. And it was Mr. Hyde. And I was like, Tony, that may have been some idea that was floated when they built Anderson Park years ago, but that never has happened. The state doesn't give us anything. So I'm like, there's no money coming in from the state. So it's just maybe a disconnect in that way that I think could be beneficial if they'll understand. I know library having its own director, police having its own, but like airport's pretty good. They know what they can and can't afford, right? But parks and Public Works, I think those are the ones that want things and we need to connect that to funds in the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So we want to list these things
I
and
don't
then
know,
vote for consensus or?
well, I don't know that you want to because really it's going to have to come from if you put lifeguard.
Yeah, that's not really our job to make that determination.
Well, I mean, if you put lifeguard, what are you hoping I'll do? Because it's really going to be
Dependent on the budget.
contingent on the budget and the budget committee to put it in there. I don't get to decide that. So I don't know how much movement I can make other than championing for it.
Yeah.
And also it really is parks, parks
Prerogative.
prerogative
Yeah.
to put forward their preferences of what they think needs to be done. And, that's part of the whole dynamic of having like you with Public Works and you with Parks and me with Airport,
Yeah.
which doesn't ever meet, with them understanding their budget. Same with cemetery. I mean, although I think I don't know if they still are as integrated into knowing what's going on with the budget versus what they think they want.
Yeah.
And the direction is supposed to come from council to these committees.
Mhm.
This is what we would like you to be working on.
Yeah.
So,
So I don't think either of those go on.
Well, and it's really not a project. It's not a project.
Right. It's like the business. of the city.
Yeah, it's a business decision of the city.
yeah,
Okay,
I'll add that to come to Parks at the budget and
Yeah.
talk to them about that.
I like,
definitely something.
well, maybe just a visit with all of the committees. Just add that to your
Put a
list of
request out of
things to do
the
because you don't have to have anything else to do.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it can't hurt to just go to all of them and do a little quick synopsis of the budget and what that they need to, a deadline by which they need to turn around their wish list, but it needs to relate to the budget.
Yeah.
And we unfortunately don't really have a cemetery committee anymore.
Yeah.
The invested parties just quit meeting.
Oh,
We're kind of running it in-house until we get people that are interested, but it's going fine. I mean, we're still doing all the beautification and things, but. So Parks, Public Works, Library. What am I missing? Oh, airport, but they kind of know their thing too, but.
no, they don't. And that's the other thing, they need to be meeting.
Yeah, well, I might call them and tell them because we need to talk about the culvert. They wanted a culvert where that low-lying area was and.
That's still up for discussion?
No, the idea is that we were gonna purchase the, with airport funds, the culvert, and then those guys wanted to put it in, the
Yeah.
guys out there, which is fine. We just need to navigate that. Yeah.
But that's still a discussion. That's a long time.
Yeah, well, they don't meet, so I don't really have a mechanism to call them all together and I can't just make one of them make the decision. But
Anybody else got an item? I have one I'd like to put on the project list is completion of the Timberland plan. Timberland plan.
here's the draft
There's the draft. Oh, she's getting close.
with all the maps. So, well, I can send this and then you guys could have a work schedule.
That'll be a quick one to knock off the list, huh?
Well, no, this is what we, I looked back and we had most of it other than kind of how you would go about.
Oh, okay, that's the
This is
original.
this is identifying the parcels and
Yeah.
what exists there and.
Yeah.
all the things,
I wrote a lot of the narrative
Yeah.
on each sites, but city staff's got to do some of the legalese,
Yeah,
descriptive stuff.
so,
And then we're gonna have to have a workshop and decide our options and what we want to do. So,
now you want to start managing.
and it'll be a plan forward, but it'll be ever evolving.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. And as it relates to that, Historians is great and talking with them about how they manage it and work it forward.
Yeah.
That's a really good idea.
So when it comes to Lake Campground, if we make that, Rick's making it number one, we still have the issue of if we go for a grant, how, it's not going to do the whole project.
Right.
With the funding they're getting from the feds, they're getting less funding, so they're less likely to fund the $1 million projects. So do we ask for as much as our in-kind would match for and just do whatever that could do? If you guys are, and then kind of I need at a future meeting, I'll probably bring it back to you guys and propose that this is the upcoming grant cycle, this is what's available. And then you guys would authorize me to actually go for it or not, depending on what that is. Because,
And we have some funds in our, the fees that we pay, what do you call those?
SDC.
Yeah, SDCs.
Yeah, so,
Could go directly to,
yeah, we could do
So-
that.
so,
So there could be a little skin in the game plus the work and then ask, but it's not going to be the restroom and the showers because
Right.
it's almost going to have to be its own.
I mean, I just keep coming back. If we get it roughed in and functional, we derive revenue.
Yeah,
And then revenue eventually, hopefully revenue is a lot more than what it'll maybe finally make our park system a little more flush.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see where we need probably a part-time worker in the summer.
Yeah.
But hopefully we get more than that out of it. And then we can accumulate and then we'll have skin in the game for the next phase and then maybe the next phase
yeah.
over time.
So that's one of the things, if you guys, so in your ranking, rank just each section, the number of them. So I kind of know, like in the funding section, you'd have 1 through 5. If the lake campground is everyone's 1, then that would trigger me to bring you kind of, here's what the grant cycle looks like, here's what all the stuff.
I think some of the concerns there with things changing all the time, that we lose the ability to do it because they shut us out because of flood issues.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, if we don't get it roughed in and pre-existing,
Yeah,
we could lose that opportunity.
yeah,
And I think that's a big concern, is to try to get some groundwork done so it's established so we can hang on to it.
yeah.
Any idea what that cost is, that initial to do
The
that?
whole thing,
I mean, to get,
the whole project was 1.3 in 2023. And then they did a 2024, 5, and 6 estimate. So I'd have to pull those plans and look what that estimate was and then break out, like taking the bathroom off leaves us this much.
Well, the bathroom was what, $500,000?
Yeah. At the time for
Yeah.
like a ROM tech kit, similar to Anderson Park, where it have restrooms and the shower stalls.
It can be just a interim primitive though, correct?
Yeah, you have restrooms right down the way
Yeah.
at the lake.
Yeah.
And ultimately, if you roughed it in, it does have a park host spot itself. So you could have a lake park host and then a lake campground park host. And then you wouldn't maybe necessarily need to hire
Hmm.
a person, because you'd have the person getting the site space for the duties of reservations and
Yeah.
maintaining.
I
and
could
such.
write a job description to take care of that and do the weed eating around the lake.
Yeah,
huh?
you could combine, yeah, that, because really,
I mean,
especially
we gotta take
especially if the
pressure off.
reservations went online, that's a pretty easy system. That's what Brittany has, so she can do all the maintenance of the park and do the online reservations, because it's not like a whole bunch of
Yes.
trouble to her.
Yeah.
And so if you did them, not a paper online, but the system, it'd be pretty easy for that part. So there's options there, but
Okay.
any other?
No, I
I
think,
feel like some of these have, like the streets improvement plan, that's a big enough nut. The forest management plan, that's another kind of big decision-making thing. The fish ladder, I haven't gotten back information, but that's going to be its own thing. That's going to be a project and a half as they start saying what they want. But I am pulling my pockets inside out and saying, hey, everything you said, now you got to find us the money. But, and then once the feasibility study is done, then we'll have, how are we going to go about implementing that for the water intake? Because that's on there.
oh yeah, I was gonna ask if that was on there.
And some of these are just goofy fall offs, like the old dump and the NPS sign off.
Yeah,
Those could be the bottom of the list because they're just going to happen as other agencies do them anyway, but.
Cool.
oh yeah, it's the SIP feasibility study. Intake.
hey, back to the campground, how many spots, how many camp spots is that?
Oh, man.
19?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That was the original.
it's six RV hookups, 3 yurts, and like 11 or 12 camp tent sites.
Camper trailer. tent.
Or tent, yeah, on the back, no hookup. The hookup ones were along the lake. The yurts are kind of in the middle, and then the back woodland area is like the pull in with like a little camper, self-contained or a tent.
Water and sewer is simple for us. I mean,
Yeah.
in-house and
And it's just,
We're close.
it's kind of a loop, and then we're just going to that wet well with the sewer that's at pump station 3 below my
Okay.
house. And it's kind of just a loop around the burner base is kind of the middle, right? That's integrated in it with the road. So you go around it. Yeah. So not rocket science, but just costs that
Yeah.
couldn't. And the tricky part is whatever in-kind work we're going to do has to be in the same year as we go for a grant. So like most likely you would go for the grant, you would be told you're awarded it, you'd start your in-kind work, and then you'd get their money and do the rest of the work, right? Because if you don't do it in the same year, they don't count it as in-kind.
We wouldn't start anything unless we knew we got awarded.
You'd get that preliminary, you've been awarded, you got to wait the 60 days for contract, then we could. Nothing, you wouldn't want to do anything you needed reimbursement for. You could do your work you were doing on your own.
Because what's the percentage? Our
It was 20%. So
Yeah.
when we asked for 1 million, we would have needed 200,000. Well, when you look at the value that the architects put on the water and sewer, it gets up to like 170 or 160 of value. And if we can do that and that counts as in kind, then we only needed a little bit of cash or match some other way. So it's potential. It's just kind of playing it all.
And of course, fitting that work into our
Yeah.
busy boys' schedule too.
Yeah. But if it's a go, then they just know, and really it's, even if they did it, 2 days a week of the summer or the in-kind work or something until they get for the 2 months, they just
We just need to be conscious of that. I mean, and then the SCA grant and work involved, so
Yeah.
probably try to do it in the off year.
Yeah.
Any other big projects we got going?
Well, and I might do that too. I might do like a schedule of when the certain grants hit and when we could get awarded it and when the work would take place so we could see it.
We need to get an estimate of how many hours they'd have wrapped up in doing that project.
Yeah.
I wonder if we couldn't kind of rough it in and get some rock in there to kind of make it like it's there, but not all the utilities and everything to at least help hold us the availability to keep building it.
Yeah, I mean, even with the FEMA guidelines now, I'm not so worried. I think we could offset really the only tricky part is the impervious surface.
That'll be the trick.
That's the trick. And I think if we can.
That would be limited.
Right, but that's one of the elements of the
Yeah.
new standard. But they're still fighting the standard in court, so, right? So.
Maybe it is a good time to.
Well, no, I think it is, but I worry about putting rock there that you're just going to dig up and muddy, getting all your crud in.
Yeah, really want to do your utilities first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And almost need to let it settle.
Yeah, well, I know that's how you need to do it, but
Yeah, I
if we
understand.
could get where a person can drive around there in a couple of spots they could back into to kind of say, hey, we got this campground already that we can't get shut out later when we go to put the utilities in.
Yeah, but I don't think they could, even with the current, even if we had to do it by today's standards on the new regulation, we could still put the utilities in.
Yeah, utilities wouldn't be a
It's
hint.
just the impervious, it's just the paving.
Yeah.
And I think we can still there's ways to get around that because we remove so much impervious surface that's cataloged out of everything, right? All of the asphalt grindings from the school are still sitting on my property. That could all be documented. So, but yeah, I think we move forward. I'm nervous about doing work, then we have to go back and dig it up.
Yeah.
But I'll get this schedule so you guys can kind of see how it will line out for SCA and OPRD.
See that we have a good opportunity there and we don't want to lose it
Yeah.
by waiting for some extra money that didn't come and fouled us up.
Yeah.
I think there's still going to be ways to get around it, to get it
Yeah.
implemented.
Yeah. Because really that upper corner was the last, if you look at the flood maps, this right here was like it's like fringe
Yeah.
compared to like right here or right here, in the maps.
Yeah.
But yeah, worth going for and figuring out. So are there any other things we want to add? I mean, we got, if we do all that, it kind of makes the work good. We've been kind of bored. Staff's been like, okay, we have nothing. And we're doing stuff, but we don't have any, like, usually the grants and the projects are kind of our thing where keeps us going and
You
rolling.
said you needed a rest year. You're good.
We did. We did have like $4 million worth of stuff go. Vroom, 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 vroom.
Right. Last summer was quite busy
Yeah.
and
I think it's good.
It was interesting when I did my street surveys and I went down Park Drive. And I'm like, hey, we took care of our poor or marginal on the end. It was all broken up down there where they dug their pit and
Right.
did the bore. And that's all new pavement. And I was like, the street went from, portions of it's out excellent now. I'm like, or excellent or good.
right.
It was
And
just
Madison,
crazy.
Yes.
you're Madison,
Yeah, Matt.
where his is.
Oh, yeah, Madison.
Got the
Everybody-
new-
And, that spot got fixed.
Yeah,
Of course, Adams,
yeah.
that's all. And then the other thing that was really crazy in my head was the streets that we crack sealed. They were downgraded because they had cracking and now they're sealed. So in my mind, I couldn't downgrade them anymore. They actually went up a step. And, they do. They just look better.
Yeah,
So it's interesting. Using our criteria that we've got set,
Right.
grade. And so, yeah, it'd be interesting to see the report. I don't think we might end up coming up just a little bit. Some of them, the chip seal on some of the tree streets though, like he had them as excellent and I'm like, no, that ain't
Well, the
happening.
tree
Because
streets-
the underlying was
yeah.
improved and that's part of the rideability.
Well, and that's one of the other things that we had talked about. I had asked Robert to kind of identify all the water mains and
Yeah.
maybe break that into projects like, alder to cherry, cherry to elm, elm to
Yeah.
heather or something. Because ultimately, that's going to be one of the next have to do's is we're having enough repetitive breaks on the main that we need to start looking at that. Before the only benefit of having an emergency is you can get a grant for that.
Yeah.
I mean, if enough breaks, if you have a big enough problem, then they're willing to give you the free money. But otherwise, they're like, oh, you need to raise your rates or take a loan. And I'm like, I'm not raising the rates. But
We're not doing a class of 9.
no,
$100 a month sewer. On top of what it is.
yeah, that's crazy.
So
Ouch.
you start looking around, we're not that bad.
Electricity
Everybody's catching up.
kind of high, but the rest of it's not.
Yeah.
The other thing was they finally sent the actual invite. Stephanie just wanted me to remind you guys to let her know by the 30th. And
So we'll see her
that's,
on Monday. We'll be able to tell her on Monday about this.
yeah, she just wanted to give it to you.
So
Actually, one.
we're supposed to rate these, get them back to Stephanie?
Yep. So it looks
I
like,
thought she was going to send it out again for us to rank and send back.
oh, sure. I can take off the empty spots and just add forest management plan since the majority of council agreed to add it. And then I'll remove this one and then you'll just rank each category.
She'll send.
Yeah, I'll have Stephanie send it tomorrow.
And just maybe move the funding section up and the ongoing city projects
Flip them.
down and then just take off the ranking section because you're not going to, ongoing
Ongoing,
city
yeah.
projects aren't going to get ranked.
Right.
That would just be a,
Little less semantics. Got it.
because Susan can't not words something.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we can mark them electronically and send them back huh?
Yes,
You could.
maybe.
For the user that are inclined.
We'll print one.
I like my printing and
I do too.
Okay, well, thank you.
These guys are in the timber industry. They gotta,
We gotta keep us,
well, after what I heard on the news, it proved more of my fact that the electronic green isn't as green as I was thinking it is.
yeah.
Oh, with the water usage?
Well, the water they're shipping out
And the,
contaminated everybody's wells up there in Arlington.
and
Because they sent that water that they use into their irrigation.
Oh.
And now all those chemicals are getting into the wells.
Oh, the chemicals they add in to keep the fungicides and stuff, or they don't get in the,
So a lot of the wells up there have nitrates and they can't drink it.
yeah.
That's crazy. What are we doing?
Yeah.
All
right.
Well, I'll resend these to you.
If there's no other additions, we will adjourn this meeting at 7:02. Yeah.
I bet-